Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second webinar of the Degrowth Dialogue series, which is part of the Degrowth and Environmental Justice Summer School. I hope everybody's day is going really well, and we have a really exciting talk for you today. My name is Anastasia. I'm part of the organizing team of the summer school. I have a development research background, and I'm really excited to be facilitating this webinar for you. So we're going to begin by introducing the summer school and our speaker, and then he'll give us a 40-minute presentation, and we'll have a Q&A at the end. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the YouTube live chat, and we will make sure to read them after the presentation. So the Degrowth and Environmental Justice Summer School is formed by two sister projects, the Summer School in Barcelona and in Can Decreix. The first part traditionally takes place in Barcelona, where students explore, debate, and collectively work on degrowth and environmental justice approaches. For the second week, students relocate to Can Decreix in Cerbère, France, to fully experience degrowth in a rural area. Currently, we're planning the 8th edition of the summer school starting on June 21st. We're happy to announce that applications are now open. You can check our webpage to know more, and you can also find the link in the YouTube chat. On February 16th, we presented our first Degrowth dialogues with Susan Paulson, Marula Tagari, and Karina Dengler. They made a great introduction to degrowth. Check it out on our YouTube channel or on the webpage. Today, we're happy to present the second webinar, Living Degrowth Now, Can Decreix, A House of Degrowth with François Schneider. Today's webinar will show that another coherent system is possible, one that ties together simple frugal practices, convivial technologies, alternative worldviews, and low tech, and more. François will present Can Decreix, A House of Degrowth, which is located at the French-Spanish border. So now I'm going to introduce our speaker. François Schneider is an industrial ecologist and degrowth researcher. He worked on the development of life cycle assessment, or LCA, methodology at the INSA Engineering School in Lyon and CML in Holland. He organized the first conference on allocation in LCA in Leiden. He finished his PhD on allocation problems in cascade systems in 1996. He worked on material flow of carbon or aggregated material at the Institute of Industrial Ecology in Austria. He contributed to SERI development in Vienna, working on rebound effect, transport issues, sustainable consumption, and regional flows. He worked at the INETI in Lisbon, Portugal, on product service systems and material water indicators and regions. Since 2001, he has been active in the development of the degrowth concept and debate in France and Europe. Founding research in degrowth in 2006, he initiated and co-organized the first scientific conference on degrowth for sustainability and equity in Paris in 2008, as well as the second one in Barcelona in 2010. He worked in housing and degrowth in ICTA UAB and puts now degrowth in practice and lifestyle innovation at the French-Spanish border in Can Decreix. He's now dedicated to facilitation of collective processes. Okay, I'm going to pass the word to our speaker.
Thank you so much. So, hello everybody. I share with you the presentation.
To go very fast is challenging on theory.
Sorry, there is a mistake here.
Fertilize all this.
Sorry about this. I don't know why, but
On this ammonia industry, this our Bosch.
Sorry.
Good afternoon, everybody.
It's you to share your screen too.
You like from Can Decreix on theories.
I have some trouble with the technicalities. Sorry about this.
It's okay, it happens.
Hey. No, wait.
Take your time.
Need to do things in the right order.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to talk to you, like from Can Decreix here.
François, you have to turn on your microphone.
Very fast is challenging the present society, which is based on more material, more energy, inequality, market-based relations. On Degrowth is proposing a different pathway, a pathway where many other things are possible, and especially sustainability, more equality, different human relations. And for this, we need to live the thing. We need no utopias. And Can Decreix is a project, is one of many projects that works on that. Try to practice degrowth, and it's really putting degrowth at the center. It's not like the model. It's not like it's not a single model, and it's not also developing a single solution. Yeah, it's about experimenting degrowth, yes, because I've been working a lot on theories and so on, but we need practice. Theory needs practice, and vice versa. We need to try in order to understand, and it's possible to try at the level of Can Decreix, but we cannot completely overlook the fact that we are within a very large and imposant and very strong capitalist system, society based on growth, which has a lot of disturbing interlinked norms that keeps us from doing always the same, that keeps us, many of us, like doing the same way, and it's really making it difficult to propose a different thing. And this system is very powerful, very large, and takes to make alternatives like this one difficult. So it's important to look at this system in relation with what we try in Can Decreix, going through. So we'll go a little bit through different sectors of the mega machine, and then we'll present like the degrowth system in Can Decreix, because it's also a little system, a very small one. Nothing. We use the same term. It's not. We're not anti-system. We want to get organized and present different roles that people take, and also principle in Can Decreix. So the mega machine. The first thing is that we extract a lot on the norm in which we live in, and which is what we're confronted all the time in Can Decreix, is about obtaining raw materials from anywhere in the world without having to suffer direct impact ourselves. So basically, we don't want to feel the impact of what we consume. And this is a strong way of doing. So it's about the really destruction of natural ecosystem without care of the preservation of the resource, with enormous flow of materials, and without being aware of the relation to our own consumption. But sometimes we also cultivate, and when we cultivate in the present growth society, we don't just grab what's there. Sometimes we want to cultivate, and the norm then is about not having any wild plant or animal around. Producing a fruit, well, in this case, is grapes, alone, without other plant growing, without any other animal living. Agriculture based on large input. This is agriculture based on large inputs of chemicals and energy, very inefficient, consuming more energy than it ever produces, and even less efficient actually than hand agriculture. The norm is also not to adapt to the season, having the same fruits available all year, anywhere, anytime. And in order to fertilize all this, the norm tells us that composting is dirty. What is clean is what we do with Haber-Bosch processes, the fertilizer industry, from nitrogen to the atmosphere. So I don't know if you have seen the coast of Brittany. It's all green and smelling bad. It's actually even killing people sometimes. And creates also dangers of explosions, because there are chemical industry on weapons are joined as joint co-products. On this ammonia industry, these Haber-Bosch processes generate the nitrogen for the protein production of the meat and dairy industry. The industrial animal proteins are the norm, producing proteins without being aware of animal suffering and the amount of energy used. Exploitation of animals using feeds that could feed us. Very different from what we do in Can Decreix. Yeah, here are a few images to remind that in order to cook, because we want to cook anytime, always with the same way. On, for example, natural gas offers this possibility. And for this, we destroy places in Siberia. We have gazoduct on many wars, and we have pollution, and we have greenhouse gases. When we have actually ways to do that we use in Can Decreix, to use local resources to cook. Same thing with electricity. I mean, right now the norm is to have lots of appliances that function with electricity. And really the number of machines that are increasing are augmenting a lot the consumption of electricity. Yeah, we try to avoid the use of all these white slaves, these white machines in Can Decreix. On transport, yeah, the norm is really about cars and planes, fast moves, being anywhere, anytime. But obviously this has a cost. It has a cost with greenhouse gases, with destruction of landscape, with pandemias also, hypermobility, everything, all the impacts into the petrochemistry. So yeah, it's so really Can Decreix is about in practice degrowing the number of cars to challenge the whole socio-technical system around the car or around the plane. So there's no car in Can Decreix. Food industry, yeah, fast food as the norm, and like anywhere you find food drives on the first thing in a new urbanization, also really related to the delinking with the surroundings. Also something we very often these McDonald's or this urbanization are built from cement, like the urbanization we just saw. And cement is another norm we challenge in Can Decreix. Really, the building sector is the largest mass of material extraction with high energy use. And also, like cement is like the toxic containing lots of heavy toxics which are diluted in the buildings. And this cement also is used to make, for example, supermarkets. They are part of the car's socio-technical system, and there are places to spread large amount of useless products. And obviously, we challenge this in our way of life. Can Decreix. And how do we organize all this? And this is with interlinked computers. There's an integration of digital technology in all areas of businesses. And this results in a fundamental change to the organization of the way we operate. Yeah, and obviously this is not convivial, and we deal with this in Can Decreix also. Okay, when we have done all this medicine, we need to clean it. And for this, the norm is to have chemicals to clean. That's another norm we challenge in Can Decreix. We live with the idea that chemicals clean, while they are in reality so dirty downstream the tube. We do it differently. We try to keep water clean from chemicals so that water can be reused in plants, in green plants, in leafy plants. Not. And sometimes we have, in order to make, we also make product more cleanable. And this is one small aspect also, is like type of pot we use in Can Decreix. And yeah, another norm, it's like to avoid thinking too much that everything goes in the bin. It's so easy transforming infinite the product we don't need anymore into air, liquid, and solid pollution. Well, instead, we want to design durable, reuse valuable products, and avoiding producing in the same place in the first place. Last thing is like this habit we have to just pour down the sink and think that, okay, this is going to be dealt with. Yeah, by treating, supposedly we reduce the polluting content, and we do not need to be preventive. Well, actually, we transform valuable materials into toxic solid waste. Let's be clear, and it's something that people don't realize, is that because we put it in the sink, it doesn't mean that the pollution disappears. And especially, for example, nitrates come for a large part to pollute our beach and so on. In Can Decreix, we go for degrowing water use to prevent water pollution and then avoid the need of treatment. Well, what shall we do? Degrow the system, which implies to transform the system. We need to imagine a different world. actually frugal different systems, like small frugal systems that involve the whole society can exist. They can exist. We are not stuck in this one, but in order to realize that something is different, we need to live it a little bit, sense it, develop it on even if it's at a small scale. It's just not exactly the whole society, but it's the idea of experiencing things, the experiential narrative, what we try with Can Decreix. On a very important thing first is to do activism for Degrowth. I've personally been involved in organizing on taking part in marches for Degrowth. I've also done a tour presentation of Degrowth with the book Housing for Degrowth. So important to activism for Degrowth is so important. There's so many actions that are possible. Another aspect is research. It's very important to have theorization, but we shouldn't be reduced to this. Really worked hard to initiate the international conferences for Degrowth, founding research on Degrowth, initiating the Paris and the Barcelona conference. Now there is like a fantastic library, so many books and so many articles, many of them like that are from respected by the researcher. The next conferences are in Manchester and The Hague this year. Degrowth has become an amazing research domain, but it needs to be really recognized now. But also we need practice, and this is what Can Decreix is about, like living Degrowth now. Can Decreix at the border, the French-Spanish border, there where the arrow says, yeah, so that Degrowth is not just an idea to defend or a notion to theorize, that it's also a very concrete approach. And this is what we experience in Can Decreix. Well, yeah, we can theorize during centuries without practicing, but we need actually the feedback from practice to do good theory, and also we need the feedback from theory to do good practice actually.
So welcome in Can Decreix. Now that you have seen all the explanation about the global perception behind Can Decreix, you can enter. You're welcome. So it's one of the first idea of Can Decreix is this global perception. So that's why we did this review of the mega machine. Sorry about this. It's like we do things with the awareness of the global context, and yeah. And apart from this, I'm sorry if I deceive you, but for Degrowth in practice, we actually need to be organized. So we have even like organization on every day per role, and so it's not only about nervous system that gets us into action. We need to actually use our brain, but also our emotions, discover our deep needs to get into fruitful cooperative actions. So different roles are taken by different people, and we all have many roles. And what are these roles? Well, it's yeah, each role kind of takes care of different needs from so we have actually a frugal system, which is actually on one hand based on needs. It follows a little bit structure of the mega machine with extraction, transportation, transport, storage, usage, organization, on reutilization. So these are different sectors, let's say, or where different roles do their organization based on the idea of each role fulfill needs. On one of the linkage goes with all the linkages to actually fulfill needs. And the other link is related to the cascade, to the cascade of material or energy. I can give you the example of the wood cascade in Can Decreix. So we cut wood for example the vines or the olive trees, or we clean. Let's say we supposedly clean by taking out all the weeds. Also, sometimes we recuperate wood. Everything that is toxic, that had some treatment or so on, is put in the toxic waste, and we cannot deal with it. But when it is reusable, when it can be used for construction, then we use it for construction. And then when the construction is outdated, then we finish with it, and we recuperate it again. With this, we make beds. We make beds in the collective room. When there are things that are not usable, either they are very small and then they can be composted and they are used for agriculture to make nitrogen composts, or they are used for making heat for our stomachs, for our meals, or for our living rooms. And it includes the recuperation of wood from the constructions. When we have burned this, so it involves heating the place and heating our stomachs, then we use it. We use the ashes to make ash water, which is used to clean. The coals are used again, and then it is used. The rest of the ashes are used in the agriculture because they are alkaline, and so it reduces you are hearing now the train because we are very close to the train station. So yeah, because our land is very acidic, so it is also the last recycling item. So this is like the idea of cascade, and we have cascades for many materials, for metals, for clothing, for all the different materials we have. But let's describe the different roles. Starting with the extraction. So the first extractor is not functioning the same way as the widener. It's about like taking care basically of wild plants, like the ones that are behind me. Sometimes we spread wild seeds. We pay attention to the balance between plants. Sometimes we uproot inedible plants or toxic plants also, because we want to keep like the balance. it's actually a semi-spontaneous agriculture. So we have to negotiate spaces with the gardener on the animal care. So it's really, really a role dependent on the current conditions, like what plants are growing at each season. The wild owner offers leafy vegetables to cook or to make fermentations or whatever. So we have wild cactus fruits, we have acorn. Sometimes it's about gathering materials. So there is a list of 300 plants that we actually identified in the area, and each period on each climatic conditions has its specific collection time and so on. Yeah, it's really about caring for the common resource. It is very common to be taken care of. This is our river just under Can Decreix, and you can see that it's full of capucines, and really an amazing source of making vegetable pâtés and things like this.
So we are cultivating some beans, but we let a very important place for the wild plants too.
The gardener, it's really about adapting to the surroundings. Like, for example, like the lavaterra that I have behind me, which is a plant that grows like a little tree, which is like really a salad, making so much food production and growing with very, very little water. And the other example is for sure cactus, which is a cultivated plant. It's like a tree which produces trees and which produce fruits, and which produces lots of vegetable, which is very similar to beans, to green beans. One of the important resources is water, and we collect water from the rain. This is behind me also like a rainwater container we use to wash clothes. And the resource is underground water, and also gray water, the water after use, the recycling of the water, which has lots of usage, for example, in the agriculture. So another role that is important is the energy sector, and it's not like what we do in a society following. It's a type of energy, solar, wood, very much based on the availability. It's really having a different relation with time, with the weather. Behind me there is a solar panel, thermic solar panel. So when there is sun, we have hot water for the showers. We can also have hot water with the stoves if needed. But it's always dependent. The system will be dependent on the situation. When it's about cooking, that means preparing. If we use the solar cookers, we have. It's such a different relation to time, because we don't prepare just before the meal. We prepare several hours before. We look at the sky, on the weather, and suggest the cooking methods that is suitable. Fermentation to when there is no sun, then we use the stove outside, and if it's in winter, we use the stove inside. Yeah, I mean, then in this case, we cook while heating the house. So So in this case, we combine. It's like we recycle the heating that of cooking the place for making the cooking. Note that we use this reverse. So in winter, instead of using natural gas or electricity, as it happens in many places, we cook while heating the house. So, for example, when we heat the house, we use the coal to make bread on the coals, on the embers. For this, we need to order the wood by size very well, because we use the reverse design, where we put the big wood under. Also, it makes a fire much more efficient and less polluting. And see, it's interesting because we go back to really the tradition of heating with the stove or cooking with the stove. At the same time, it's good to look at mistakes that are done on pollution that is created by the way you dispose the wood, for example. And so we also try to use modern design that are more efficient for the stove. Bonjour, 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 bonjour. We can also conserve by drying, which is done by Dede here, taking out the algae that are dried. Olives also can be dried instead of put in salty water or different techniques. Instead of making olive oil also with it. Here we consume the whole olive with all the antioxidants by drying it. It's very good technique. And there's the typical grape harvest also. And we keep the juice either by sterilization with some sterilization, or sometimes we make wine for ourselves. This is also a conservation technique that many people still consider. Once we have prepared all the ingredients for the meal, well, we can cook and we can share the food in a convivial way. So this is an important role, the cook, like a really central role, I would say, in Can Decreix. So the cook knows how to adapt to the garners or the fermentation productions, as well to the season, to the garner, what the garner has ready. So it's about measuring the right quantities first, not to waste energy or the resource. We use sprouted grains rather than dry ones because it creates more nutriments. The cook uses the magic box, which is an insulated box that keeps food cooking on the freeze of the stove or solar oven for further cooking. Yeah, for sure we give priority when we eat to the surplus from last meal. We avoid frying and to simplify the cleaning of dishes and avoid the pollution of water. And it's also about avoiding wasting oil. We reduce salt content to avoid polluting the water, to avoid also getting sick because of blood pressure increase. So it's good for our health. I mean, basically, it's like realizing that we cook that everything we put in the dishes actually gets in downstream. So we have to be careful. So we really develop preventive solutions so that we avoid, on one hand, sicknesses, that we keep in good health, develop our immune system, but also so that we don't pollute, that we make it the cleaning easy and so on. So it's really prevent. Here, just an idea, just to show you, just to impress you, like the preparation of cactus quinoa, which is done when there is not so much sun. The sun is not so strong, and we use cactus juice to actually replace water when we cook quinoa, and then we put it in the solar oven as it is. In this case, we also dry a paste of olives, which is then really nice. Like it's basically making paste of olives and drying it.
Hello, my name is Alex. I'm one of my roles in Can Decreix is animal carer, and this is our new chicken house. Because we are going to move the chicken with donkeys to move pasture and to put the animals together.
This is really a different relation to animals, nothing to do with protein production from the meat industry or the dairy industry. In this case, donkeys also have a role of cuddler, very important, but they also carry grapes. It's important to know that donkeys, going around with donkeys, it's really a change of paradigm where we really go slowly. It's really about changing completely our life on going at a slow pace. Sorry. This is really interesting. I think fundamentally they make us go closer to nature. A domain that is very important in Can Decreix is the bicycle on the transportation. We use solar panels to charge the battery of the bicycles, because we have a very hilly area. So we use also recumbent bicycles on modern. I think bicycle is very interesting because it's something that also still is full of invention, with lots of things to invent with pedals, with wheels and so on. It's a big area of frugal innovation, and it's really about the debound, where we do things more locally because we have a slower mode of transport. Well, actually not so slow, actually it's quite fast, but we won't do 1,000 kilometers. And we use the bicycles to carry the grapes, also to bring back the grapes when we do the grape harvest here with different volunteers. Well, the fuel here, the fuel of bicycle is the food we eat. For example, with 1 bowl of porridge, we do 25 kilometers. So it's really a biofuel. It's functioning on biofuel, and we don't need to invent new ways. In our case, sometimes solar. In this case, we don't have solar batteries. Bicycles are used for transportation. they're used for carrying animals around. They're used to also to visit friends. And we combine a lot train and bicycle. It's a super efficient way of transportation. Here in an action in defense of the night trains or on the local trains. Another domain which is very important is building, and we use stone on soil from the surroundings, completely different from the cement industry, and we make very long-term building, and we rebuild a lot of stone walls also. Reparation is a very important aspect also. Well, we store goods to repair during some time before we can find a use. And we search for the right product, or we design new items to fit a given application. Being very careful not to introduce toxic products within Can Decreix. It's like, for example, we use untreated wood to avoid the introduction of chemicals. We avoid Teflon. So it's about repairing, reusing, and sometimes sending objects for recycling. It's very important to take a pause at some point and to also take care of each other's on the loss of roles around that. On music takes a big importance also. So let's all take a good breath here and do a bit of yoga, maybe on the beach. Please come. An important role there is facilitator, especially when we have encounters, but also when we have meetings. So that we have a great coordination between the roles, on that we express first all the successes, that we really take the time to celebrate what we have achieved, on that we have real time to express issues, problems, where everybody tries to support the person with his problems, instead of often like saying no, it doesn't have problem. Well, people that express problem have a problem, and we have to deal with it, and we have all to be there to help this person. Space care is an important thing. Like this is one of the many events we do, for example, in the village, or to present wild food, or so a very important role. So to take care of the spaces, create spaces where we can meet each other and meet other people.
And this is now about like a last part, which is what we do with all what we have produced on like the downstream area. On yeah. it's about really thinking what we put in the, when we do the washing up, what we put in the water, so that it's actually possible that it goes to the plants. So we use plant soap. We use plant soap that is made with potassium. It's also about taking care of the white, the pots. Here, someone actually drying the pots. So we can see that it's hard work.
Oh, hey, wait, François, can you turn on your camera? Just yeah, okay. Thank you so much. Come again?
Something is not working, no?
Okay, take your time. Yeah, but anyways, thank you for such a good presentation. We have a few questions, but please do finish what you were saying.
Yeah, I just had like a quick, maybe it has been very long already, but I had a few more space. It's like, this is about soap. Can you see that?
I can see the presentation.
Oh.
Yes, but not your face. Yeah.
Oh, my okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. I come back to that. Yeah,
yes.
Sorry.
You're still sharing the screen though. If you want to keep sharing the screen, you can. But yeah.
Just to say that this is like the soap production. This is about irrigation, the way we deal to give the different flow of water to the plants. This is like the straw filter, what's called a straw filter, which has like little composters. And we are very careful to give the water to the different plants. This is the compost. Compost freak is another very important one, where we do like cascades of compost. And this is the compost toilets also. So everything about downstream now. The result of the compost toilet that we actually use to grow plants also, with the friends Vincent and Françoise. We passed through many ideas and just wanted to show you these little Can Decreix principles, like, which is like, it's about a system of low tech. It's about cascades of material and energy. It's about adapting to local conditions, different relation to time, the global perception, having preventive solutions rather than technological. Sometimes we go into tradition, but very often it's about revisiting mistakes from the past, actually, on develop innovative approaches also. And it's about debound innovations like the donkey or the bicycle that makes us do less kilometers and take a different pace. It's about convivial encounters and open localism, which is like, we want to be open but focused on the local. That's a very important aspect. And about encounters, the summer school in Can Decreix it's the next step. Just to let you know, like, our main areas of in the next while is like about botanic tour with edible plants, low-tech innovations, and see what kind of cultural transformation is needed, or to deal with animals, the relation to animals are a source of well-being. And we have seen Alexandra was really focused on that. There is now a new association in Serbia which is called Serber Cactus, which is about adapting really to dry lands where we are involved, and really Can Decreix as a cooperative for degrowth experimentation. Just to share now, like, important links and leave this, especially how to register to the Degrowth Summer School.
Yeah. As far as I know, you can find a lot more information about Can Decreix on the website that I was also able to check out earlier. Awesome. Could we maybe go back to the principles slide to break down some of them a little bit more?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, this next one. Yeah. Well, I guess I'm just going to shoot some questions at you. What do you mean by global perceptions?
this was the start of the presentation, where when you're using the rocket stove, it's not just about using the rocket stove. It's also realizing in which context we are with the energy. For example, the energy very often comes from very far away. On here, we're using wood, which is just growing at just on the side of the rocket stove, and then the rocket stove also enables to cook things more slowly, more evenly, without burning. Or it's about using the solar ovens. Solar ovens are really amazing ways of cooking. And instead of that, we're like importing at such a scale fossil fuels from very far away to cook, when we have like a really means of cooking that are available nearby. That's what I was meaning with global perception, is to have the full spectrum in perspective.
I hear you.
Yeah.
And I see one of the other one is adapting to local conditions, and we actually have a question that is somewhat related to this point. I guess somebody is asking if whether it is possible to create a degrowth society in every climate. For example, in northern region with cold winters and less than 180 sunny days, it seems difficult to organize a similar place. So what would be your recommendation to people who want to do something similar in a different environment?
The thing is that, for sure, what I presented here are only adapted to some quite harsh conditions here, actually, also, which, because it's very dry, it's very specific. The thing is that in every place there are some other possibilities, some other aspects to develop, some other. It's really about some other ways. Like it's really about adapting very well to what's possible in the place itself. And so I don't know. I cannot answer what should be done in a colder place. For sure, it's not going to be. Maybe solar ovens won't work. Then you have other ways, but maybe there is more wood available, or maybe there is. Anyway, there's certainly possibilities to consume much less than people usually do in these areas. And it's really a strong adaptation to the condition. And it's also about living more with the light, but what is possible with when it's raining and when it's sunny. It means that we'll have different activities, and it's very disturbing in this world now, because we want to be able to do what we want without taking care of what's going on outside, or what's the season. It's like there's this very strong dogma. What I call the norm in the presentation is strong dogma that we should be able, for our liberty, to do what we want at any time. On the idea here, which is certainly disturbing, but which is actually very rich, is like, why do we have to actually always do exactly what we want? If there is, it's very nice to actually adapt to what's around, and be aware of what's around us, on what's actually happening outside. And there's so many. I mean, there's so many things to say about this, because so many sicknesses come from the fact that we are always inside and don't want to connect to what's outside.
Yeah, it seems like you're really proposing a new way of life that sees a human being sort of as part of their environment, and sort of makes the person go with the cycle that is that the rest of the environment follows, which is very different from how most people live. I guess one of the other things that I'm getting from your response is that people really would have to use local knowledge, or like knowledge specific to their environment. And it seems like you're using a lot of very I guess unusual skills, or skills that not a lot of people have, skills that are not being taught at school. So somebody in the comments in the YouTube chat was wondering if since your way of life seems pretty skill intensive, what are some of the most important skills that you had to learn to sort of survive sustainably and have this sustainable way of life? And also, where can people learn them if they're not being taught regularly in our educational institutions?
Well, I think it's lots of it you learn by actually trying, on asking people, being the place, on asking people around, not think that we know everything. And it's true, this is very true, that there's so many things to know that we don't know. After 10 years here, we still learn lots of things of how to do things. On every second is a learning. On this is actually, well, first, it's very nice. Second, it's about being modest and accepting that we don't know everything, and that we have to ask people, that we have to accept mistakes, also learn from mistakes. On there, I'm not going to make a list of or now like tell you how to learn it, because there are many, I think, many places that do trainings or on whatever technique. Maybe if there is a specific question in one area, I could give some clue or where to get knowledge about that. But I think the person who asked the question has the right approach already, to admit that we have a lot to learn, and this is very important. This is very important to be aware of that.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Let's go through some of the other questions that people submitted. Yeah, somebody wants to know how can a larger segment of the population be engaged in similar activities? So, for example, somebody that may not already be interested in degrowth or sort of these alternative movements, how can you, I guess you talked a lot about activism, but what are some of the other or strategies that you could like promote this way of life?
Well, for activities, we need every type of action is useful, huh? And we need, if we're very general, we need people that go into research. We need people that go on that develop practical on theoretical research, and also that interlink if possible. We need people that are activists. We need practitioners. We need artists. Maybe I didn't mention this enough, but very important to include arts on. So these are basically everyone in his field, in his what he was doing, can find ways to be useful in this domain, and in the domain of degrowth. And it's like I don't think there is one area where you cannot be useful, actually. And it can be about reaching people and creating debates where you are. And sometimes it's difficult. It's very important to seek support from other people, because you might feel that you are alone. And as I said, like the capitalist system is very strong. It's crushing us sometimes. But we can get together on imagine alternatives together. On we have to value very much people also that are inside the system, let's say, that actually are doing action from there, because this is super useful. Again, this is a little bit very general question, because if you tell me what is the situation exactly, maybe we can think of what could be done. But generally, really, any situation is good. About the practice, there's also many places where one can practice. Do you have more specificities of the questions?
No, that's how somebody phrased it. But I think there's another question that could be used as a follow-up. I guess specifically with Can Decreix, how can outsiders engage with Can Decreix? Can people come visit? I know that we're obviously going to have this week in the summer school, but do you do any other workshop? What is your connection to like the outside world?
well, that's a little bit, we want to organize a lot of workshops, and we want to organize, we want to get volunteers. Right now, we don't have much space because we have a family with children but it's really nice if people contact us on that we see how we could organize things together. That could be very nice. There's plenty of things to be done, but basically in the last years we have had lots of volunteers coming, lots of people coming for events that took place in Can Decreix. These are every time opportunities to do things. What is great is to work on a specific project, on also something where people will learn something that is useful after for their own project, or if there is something to bring here that could be an amazing area to develop. This is all under discussion. What we do, which is very important that we have to do more, is to take time to explain what we're doing, and especially to also people of the area, and to people many more people than we think are interested actually to understand what's going on sometimes. And that's also a problem of the theory, is that sometimes it's harder to reach harder to understand for let's say neighbors on people from the area, or people that are not within the Degrowth network or doing a PhD or something like this. It's very important to get into the practice, because this is also something from which we can talk much more concretely than if we have a debate on eco-modernism versus degrowth, it's like people don't understand the terms necessarily, but when we get into concrete practice, it's very interesting. Really, it's about being aware that there are lots of things to explain of why we do that, and we enjoyed a lot every time we did tours of explanation of what we're doing on events where we explain what we, for example, about the plants, about the approach of the growth, and so on. Always lots of interest.
Right. Could you expand a little bit on the low-tech philosophy and how it challenges the dominant tech-obsessed philosophy that's of modern science that's really popular today in the society?
Yeah. No, it's true that right now the high tech, everybody believes in high tech. Also, for example, we're going to find a solution, for example, from COVID with high tech vaccines or vaccination, or for everything. Lots of people believe that the high tech is going to save us. On actually, it's very often creating new problems that we have to deal with. It's like, it's like end of pipe philosophy, where you always have to solve new problems that are created, and so on. Now, I don't want to say that high tech is always bad. I mean, for now, we're using high tech. I was not very good with it, actually. Not the best high tech person with the presentation. I'm sorry about this. I tried my best, but we don't have to reject it at all, but we do have to put some limits to it, because if not, it eats you. So that's one aspect. Is like low tech. On low tech is about techniques that we can actually master, that we can develop ourselves, that are easy to understand. And we could also talk of lower tech. That is, we can do things simpler in a more accessible way. Here we use, for example, something like the rocket stove we made ourselves, like the solar panels we made ourselves. There are lots of things that you can make yourself, and that are that are actually available to people to build on this is typical thing of the low tech. Now, low tech doesn't necessarily mean degrowth. We have to be careful of this also. I mean, it's not because we have to be also aware that we can also pollute with low tech. It's just a technology that is more accessible to people, and there's lots of potential to do things in the growth direction because it's accessible. What varies with the low tech system is that I find one problem with the focus on technology in general, be it low tech or high tech, is that we focus on one technology. And we have to realize that to live with it, we need to understand it as a system. And that's what I try to explain, how there is interlinkage between different roles that use different technology or non-technology. And to understand that living with it is very important and creates then a real alternative. If it's just about one low tech alone, you can sell it in the growth society. You know, it's like we could produce solar ovens to cook and sell it on internet for people that use it once in the year, you know, and it wouldn't do anything for degrowth. It's going to do something for degrowth when it integrates in a new way of life, where you actually think also about transport, about the you know, about how you link with the surroundings, how you get up, or you know, it's what I try to explain is that all these things are interlinked. And if you use a solar oven, for example, you cook things at a lower temperature. That means the washing up is going to be easier, just an example, because things will not be burned so much. And so you don't have to use so much products to clean. And so you can recycle the water more easily in the garden. Just to say that there's so many interlinkage, and it's really what's interesting I find with the low tech is when it creates a new lifestyle, a new life, a new way of living. And then we can imagine also at several scales what it would do, how it creates how it creates a new society, because an isolated low tech wouldn't change society, you know, and a system of low tech, or even that integrates limits to high tech also, can create a new society. Is what I'm trying to pass on.
Yeah, I think you explained it really well. It definitely makes sense. Do you think somebody that is living in a city can implement some of the strategies that you are talking about? Because really, I think it might be important to think about the scalability of such projects. And you already noted that it's really important that people sort of use grassroots energy to create similar projects in their environments. But I'm wondering if this is also scalable in cities potentially. Do you have any experience with that, with people who live in bigger hubs trying to align their lives with degrowth?
In every place, there's lots of things that can be done, and especially in cities, because there's so much potential of doing of economy of scales, of doing things collectively, of joining other people to do things. In the countryside, we have the problem that people get isolated easily. In the cities, it can happen also, actually, but there is actually a big potential to do things together and to create movements more easily, on to build cooperatives, on reduce transportation, just on very concrete terms. You know, if you can make buying. I mean, you can buy things more in bulk and so on. And then it's really about looking every time about what resources, what is the context, what is the environment in which you are, and trying to see what is possible there. how things can be changed also sometimes on how can things be transformed in the right direction where you are. That's fantastic. On the cities, it's yeah, it's very important to do actions in cities. I mean, I don't know if you know. Yeah, there's a big debate. There's always people debating if we should act more in the countryside, more in the cities. I definitely think, and this is what we do in Can Decreix, that we should not colonize new wide areas. This I'm very clear about this. But then there is many actions that are possible in the countryside, many actions that are possible in cities. It's very good to. I don't know if you know in the book on housing for Degrowth, we develop a lot this debate on cities versus countryside. There is Hans Widmer. I don't know if you know, has developed a lot of theory of what to do in cities or to organize cities differently, which I find very interesting. He's the author of a book called Bolo Bolo, but he has done other publications, and he really develops how to organize cities differently, and really thinks that cities should be the places for action and he tries to envision how cities could be transformed. I think this it's a good inspiration, I find, for people that live in cities.
Maybe we could definitely link that work in either the description or the top comment on YouTube for people to be able to access these resources if they want to know more. It sounds very interesting. So we have our final questions. Final question. If somebody is asking you if you could talk maybe a little bit more about how Can Decreix came about, is there a specific inspiration story that you had? How did you find collaborators? Yeah, how did Can Decreix how was it created?
Yeah. So this is a long story because it comes from a long time before. I was involved in bicycle activism and against cars in cities in Lyon, and we had discussions also of doing like a car-free village, and we had this discussion, and after we had discussions within the degrowth movement starting in France, and especially in the march. We did a big march for degrowth, and we had discussions on a project, and this came out, developing a car-free village, and then so many years we discussed about developing Can Decreix, but we and I think from these discussions many projects started actually, but every of us had a little bit different ideas, which is good because then we did different approaches to some people to the project, and some people did more agricultural. I wanted to be more close to a train station. That's why I was thinking that the transport issue was important, was key. So it was about countryside near a train station. That's why we could hear the train during the presentation. That's also about here, having the impacts of what the things you use. Actually, it's kind of natural. Anyway, then I was very involved in the conferences for Degrowth. I went into Barcelona and did a lot of things, working in the city on working with the university on the theoretical aspect. But at some point, I really came back to the importance of putting into practice, and I really wanted to put into practice. With Filka Sekulova, who is very involved in Barcelona, we started this idea of Can Decreix, of doing on joined other people like Sylvain Fischer, on other people that got involved on we started this place, on different events took place on it was in continuation of the work done with research on Degrow, basically in Barcelona, and on many people came this is a bit the story behind, if you want more details.
Yeah, it's amazing that we got to learn a little bit more about this really great initiative, and I hope people really take time to learn more about it, maybe contact you if they have any questions. And do you have any maybe closing remarks, something that you want to emphasize a little bit more?
I think I have the feeling I said all the things I wanted to say. Just to say that really, where you are, there are actions to be done. Really to say again that what we do here is to inspire, but not to inspire with specific ways of doing, more with the approach of adapting to where you are, on develop what's the best where you are. We don't want, we don't think there is a single model. That's a difference. We're not like a project to clone and do everywhere the same, because it is adapted to the specific conditions here. And I think it's almost everyone's very exciting project, or to actually do the same where they are. And on the other hand, it's super beautiful if people contact us on join, on share ideas, on join forces sometimes for specific projects, or maybe more. Thank you so much for for dealing with all this. I'm sorry again. I don't know how came out the presentation. I hope you got most of it. Sorry about like little mistakes with the trying to deal with the technicalities.
Yeah, it happens all the time with when you deal with technology. So I think everybody will forgive you, definitely. And I think the last thing you said is really a very uplifting message, that everybody can sort of take the lessons that you developed in Can Decreix and apply that in their own life. I think that the message of accessibility of degrowth is really key and it runs throughout the summer school as well. So we also want to invite everyone to the third webinar, which will be held in the end of March, most likely March 31st, but we'll let you know, also on this YouTube channel, and it will focus on feminist challenges to eco-modernism. It's going to be a really interesting discussion as well. And yes, so thank you so much, Francois, for giving the presentation, and to everyone who watched. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.